A reading from the Gospel of Luke. When the days were completed for their purification according to the law of Moses, Mary and Joseph took Jesus up to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. Just as it is written in the law of the Lord, every male that opens the womb shall be consecrated to the Lord, and to offer the sacrifice of a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, in accordance with the dictate in the law of the Lord. Now there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Simeon. This man was righteous and devout, awaiting the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was upon him. It had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he should not see death before he had seen the Christ of the Lord. He came in the Spirit into the temple, and when the parents brought in the child Jesus to perform the custom of the law in regard to him, he took him into his arms and blessed God, saying, "Now, Master, you may let your servant go in peace according to your word. For my eyes have seen your salvation, which you prepared in the sight of all the peoples, a light for the revelation to the Gentiles, and the glory for your people Israel." The child's father and mother were amazed at what was said about him, and Simeon blessed them and said to Mary his mother, "Behold, the child is destined for the fall and rise of many in Israel, and to be a sign that will be contradicted. And you yourself a sword will pierce, so that the thoughts of many hearts may be revealed. There is also a prophetess Anna, the daughter of Phanuel, of the tribe of Asher. She was advanced in years, having lived 7 years with her husband after her marriage, and then as a widow until she was 84. She never left the temple, but worshipped night and day with fasting and prayer. And coming forward at that very time, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were awaiting the redemption of Jerusalem. When they had fulfilled all the prescriptions of the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth. The child grew and became strong, filled with wisdom, and the favor of God was upon him. In today's gospel, we can gain some insight into Luke's community simply by reading between the lines. First, we can gain insight to what type of community this gospel was written for. Are they most likely a Jewish community or a Gentile community? Reading between the lines of Simeon's first sentence, he stresses first and foremost that Jesus is a light for revelation to the Gentiles, before mentioning and glory for your people Israel. The fact that Gentiles are mentioned so early in this gospel can help us conclude that Luke's gospel was written for a Gentile community. After all, Mark's gospel stresses that Jesus was only sent for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, which Matthew agrees with. In addition, it isn't until after he is resurrected that he says we should go out and preach the gospel to all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Matthew and Mark imply that the gospel is first for the Jews and then for the Gentiles after his resurrection. However, in today's gospel, the Gentiles are already mentioned, and that salvation from Christ is prepared in the sight for all peoples. For Luke, salvation is for everyone from the very beginning. Matthew and Mark, which was written for Jewish Christian communities, say that salvation was first for them, the Jewish people. Second, in addition to Luke writing for a Gentile community, this community was being persecuted for their belief in Jesus. In Simeon's prophecy, Luke is telling the reader what is currently happening to them in the present day. Simeon is speaking directly to their experience. They are, just like Christ, destined for the rise and fall of their communities, whether in Israel or elsewhere. In addition, just as what happens to Jesus, Luke's community is pierced by the sword. Although Jesus would be pierced in the side after dying on the cross, Luke's community was literally dying by the sword. So in reading Simeon's prophecy, it is taking the life of Jesus and bringing it up to around the year 85 AD. This rhetorical technique of taking their present-day experience and placing it into the Gospels is what scholars call history remembered. They are combining the past together with the present. So when we read the Gospels, it's important to not just read the text itself, but also to read what is behind the text. In doing so, when we focus on Luke's community, we take ourselves out of it as much as possible. It helps provide us with context as a result, and it humbles us when we realize that the Gospels were first and foremost about their communities, and not about us.